TGR Obelix, Nervii, Saurus Blood, Arverni. Round of 8. So we are now into the Elite 8 of the tournament. This match is going to be played on Alexandria, one of my favorite maps in the game. And looks like it's going to be Nervii versus Arverni, another Barbarian matchup, another Barbarian rush build from both players. Now, there's a little bit of a twist coming from Obelix in this battle, and that's going to be that he's actually brought 5 Oathsworn, which is kind of a relic of the past. We don't see that many elite infantry from anyone in the game, except really Rome. Like, Tylus doesn't bring that many elite infantry. Certainly Arverni doesn't. A lot of the factions in the game don't really do that anymore. But I think on this map, that's actually not a bad build at all. And the reason I say that is because on a map like Alexandria where there's this many woods, I think it's going to be really hard for Heavy Horse to get into the flanks and rear and really punish that kind of elite-centric build. Now, he does have a lot of really cheap swords as well. The difference is he actually didn't bring any fierce swords, which are the mid-tier sword unit for the Nervii. He's actually brought a lot of high-tier Oathsworn and then a lot of the very cheap 350 talent Celtic warriors, or Celtic warriors if you're Armor King Amir. But it looks like he's going to be plopping a bunch of those cheaper units out in the front line, and then the Oathsworn in the back with the Oathsworn General as well. And he has a bunch of Javelin Cavalry out on the flanks, harassing the Heavy Horse down, doing a little bit of damage there. And 2 Light Horse as well, just to tie down and prevent enemy charges. It looks like Saurus Blood is going to take this engagement right away, knowing that he can take out the Celtic warriors off the field right at the start. He's going to charge in, get these guys off the field, and I'm kind of liking this move from Obelix, to be honest. I think keeping that Oathsworn in the back and just having the Celtic warriors tie down the Chosen Swordsman and Levy Freeman in the front and kind of prevent the Chosen Swordsman from getting the charge bonus on the Oathsworn might be a really good idea. Grind them down in melee a little bit, but we'll see how that pays out. A lot of people like to use the cheaper flanking or cheaper units like Celtic Warriors as a flanking force, and I personally like to do that a lot more than using them as meat shields. I think there are good usages for both. You can use them as a meat shield or to flank. In this case, I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, because I think the Heavy Horse from Saurus Blood is probably going to have a hard time this game. Now, I could be wrong about that, but generally, with melee cav not being as strong as it is on some other patches, and all these trees here with the Nervii kind of camping in the woods at the moment, I think it's going to be really hard for the Heavy Horse to make a good impact. There has been some really good usage so far of Saurus Blood's Celtic use. They've done a lot of damage on the flanks of these Celtic warriors, and it looks like the main line for Nervii is already going to break, but that was to be expected. Chosen Swordsmen were going to tear through them pretty easily, and now it looks like the Oathsworn are finally going to get committed into melee, and the Celtic use are going to start targeting them as well. Now, I think that Saurus Blood probably should have flanked these guys a little bit more. He is firing into the woods onto the front of their shields, so to get a little bit more damage, I think I'd like to see him flank a little bit more, but it looks like the Oathsworn all over are going to start getting into melee combat now, and now the melee engagement is going to try to kind of start shifting into the favor of the Nervii. That doesn't mean that he's going to win this battle, but of course Oathsworn, he has a lot of them, are going to start tearing into these Chosen Swordsmen, and a lot of them have already routed off the field, and he got really good charge bonuses across the line there. So some Heavy Horse have made it into the rear. Saurus Blood did a good job there, but the Light Horse are hot on their heels, trying to tie them down, prevent them from getting a good charge bonus off. Now it looks like they are going to sneak through and get a decent charge into the back of the Oathsworn General. The problem is it's in the woods now, so it's not going to be the most devastating charge, and they are melee cavalry, not known for their charge, but actually didn't do a lot of damage there to the Oathsworn at all. They're both at still in 150 or so men, so Heavy Horse only at 35 kills. It was a good charge, but they're in the woods, and it's just not the ideal place for them to be. So far, I'd say this engagement is going relatively evenly, and the balance bar has actually shifted somewhat in Arverni's favor, but with the Oathsworn in melee combat and not really getting worn down too badly, this might start shifting a little bit. Headhunt has been popped on some of the Oathsworn here, and they're going to start engaging the Nervii Oathsworn, and some more Heavy Horse going to plow into the Levy Freeman on the flanks, get them off the field, and then, yeah, they're going to start wavering, and he's going to try to pull through and get to the back of the Oathsworn, but again, in the woods here, not going to do as much damage as maybe he'd like them to. And now there's some Light Horse and some Javelin Cavalry out on the flanks that are coming in. Looks like he's going to start trying to get into the Celtic use, who might already be out of ammo, actually. At least these ones. No, they're going to throw their Javelins, do some damage to the Germanic Scout Riders. And these guys aren't really adept at killing skirmishers or any infantry units, but they should be able to wrap up some of these. And now the other Celtic youths are going to stay in the back there, and they should probably throw their javelins pretty soon here. Get a pretty good volley off. We'll see if they do that. Yep, they're going to throw their jabs. Do a lot of damage here. Of course, the javelins have the bonus versus large, so he's going to pull out now, and the melee engagement has started to shift in Nervii's favor, I think. A good charge from the heavy horse with frenzied charge active. Starting to rack up a lot of kills, actually. Up to 140 right now. But they are Oathsworn. This is the general, or next to the general unit. Where is the general? General's right there. So yeah, he is near the general, and they don't seem to be really minding that too much. They're still in green morale, completely surrounded, and at 100 men. And he's going to have to keep cycle charging to really get a lot of good charge bonuses off. But I think right now this is a game of numbers, and there are more Oathsworn for Obelix and Nervii on the field. So we'll see how this goes. I mean, I think this has been a good engagement so far from both players. Haven't seen too many really bad mistakes. It might just come down to the builds here and who has the better build, and I'm not actually sure who has the better build at the moment. Still 3 minutes left in this replay. Going to be a grinded out melee fest, and not a lot of cavalry left on the field for either player, to be honest. And I think the Celtic youths are going to have to get committed to melee here because they're out of ammo. Yeah, the main line for Arverni has broken, and all of a sudden Nervii is kind of taking the field in the center here. Still has his general alive, Saurus Blood does, and a chosen swordsman, and some Celtic youths, but he's lost a lot of his tools, and we look at what Nervii has. The higher armor and higher morale of all those Oathsworn units, and the fact that the heavy horse couldn't get great charges off in the woods has really kind of shifted this in his favor. General unit is simply not going to be able, like they have the same amount of men as this Oathsworn, and there are a lot more Oathsworn coming in now. So this very elite build from Nervii I think is going to work out really well for him. And the balance bar says this is still a possibility for Saurus Blood, but I don't think there's really any hope of him turning the battle at this point. If we look at what he has left, I believe he actually might have some heavy horse coming back from routing, but a lot of his units don't have ammo. Celtic units don't have any ammo left. They're going to be entering melee combat. Still a lot of cavalry left on the field. It's light cavalry, but still cavalry that can hammer an anvil, and then a bunch of Oathsworn, and the general unit is still alive for Obelix and the Nervii, and I think that Saurus' Blood General is going to die pretty soon here. So good charge from the Oathsworn onto the flank, and it's just going to be grinded out here for the last little part of this battle. I must say, and I don't know if this was a stroke of luck or a stroke of genius from Obelix, I wouldn't say the 5 Oathsworn is a very common build at all in this patch. If we look at what Hylas and Boyai and some of the other Barbarian rushes normally look like, I would say that they usually go really heavy on the mid-tier swords. So if someone had told me that Obelix was going to pick Nervii before this, I would have said probably going to be 4 or 5 Fierce Swords, some Celtic Warriors, and then a couple Oathsworn to anchor the line. That's what we normally see, but instead he brought 5 Oathsworn this game, and the heavy horse for Arverni just didn't... They got a lot of kills actually, but they didn't make a huge impact on the Oathsworn line, and in the woods there they didn't get the greatest charges off. I think this has been on a flat map. I think this probably would have gone in Arverni's favor, but when I say flat without any trees, because the trees really do make a big impact on the charge bonus of cavalry, and it looks like the Oathsworn build from Nervii was a really good move here, and he takes the field pretty convincingly. So actually a heavy horse here came back. I don't know if they came back from routing or if he just mismicroed them. That could have been a really important unit. If they didn't route, and actually he just mismicroed and chased a Jav Cav off the field, that might have changed things, but to be honest, there were a lot of men still left on the field for Nervii, and we look at what the Oathsworn did. 291 kills, 222, 227, 257, 229. They really made their presence felt that battle. Ridiculous amount of kills from the main line, and the move with the Celtic Warriors was actually a good one in this case. Now, I'd be very interested to see what the difference between engaging the Oathsworn first into the Chosen Swordsman and then flanking with the Celtic Warriors would have been. Who knows, maybe that would have been a better strategy, maybe that would have been a worse one, I'm not sure, but either way it worked out for him very well. The Celtic use for Arverni did a pretty decent job neutralizing some of the enemy cavalry, some of the Celtic warriors, and a few of the Oathsworn, but I think to really be devastating with them, I think you might have wanted to get a little bit more aggressive with them, get them into the flanks, and throw into the back of the Oathsworn from close range. That might have done more damage there and kind of changed the infantry battle. The Oathsworn general certainly didn't make the impact that the Oathsworn did for Nervii, and again, if you're going to go Barbarian Rush, I think you got to kind of go all in with it, and I think Nervii really did here. 5 Oathsworn is all in with the Barbarian Rush, and it worked really well on this map. Naked Swords didn't do too much, and then the Oathsworn, they both did well, but just in general, I think his strategy, Obelix's strategy, was very good. Tie down the Chosen Swordsman, kind of wear them down a little bit on the front of the Celtic Warriors. Get the Jav Cav to harass and kill enemy skirmishers, which they did a pretty decent job with. Very cost effective with the light horse as well. And then just let the Oathsworn go to town at the end of that engagement. And they did a lot of damage in that battle. And I think Swordsblood did a good job microing his cavalry. I think that just in general the map kind of hurt him on this one, because they just didn't get great charges off, as I said many times already. And good use of Levy Freeman here as well. I really like the 4 Levy Freeman build. Very cost effective, very cheap, and they're great at turning cavalry fights in your favor and just kind of soaking up charges of the enemy. So another Barbarian meta Sword Rush is in the books, and this time looks like Nervii will take the field and advance to the round of 4, the final 4. So Obelix is in the final 4. Congratulations to him. Saurus Blood will be sent out of the tournament, unfortunately, and we will be looking forward to those final 4 matchups as well. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I will talk to you all later. Indie Pride signing out. Peace.